I feel like the odd one out at this point in time.
This is how I felt a couple of weeks ago when you guys were wearing the tinfoil hats.
That was, I had to deconstruct my tinfoil hat because yeah, it had to come to pieces in the end.
What the hell?
I had to give the unicorn head back. I wasn't my unicorn head, so I had to give the unicorn head back.
All I want is your money. I want it.
Give me your money.
All. And the data. Give me the data.
I'm taking donations. I'm taking donations for America. You love America, don't you?
Actually, that would be an interesting one. I haven't thought about that one. Could you imagine building an entire, especially at this point in time, building ransomware that just, I mean, you could ooh, Robin Hood ransomware. Oh, I am liking this. I am liking this.
I got some of that.
Can we do it to hold people to their shitty terms of service? Can I ransom you to change your terms of service? I don't want money. I want you to change your fucking policy.
After the talk I gave today on voting systems and the couple of states and the couple of states I've been messing with, I just want to fucking throw a Molotov cocktail through ES&S's window. That's all I actually want to do at this point in time.
America.
How many Bitcoin to get my data back?
Lots.
Hey, I'm gonna go. Holy shit, it's hot in here.
Can I get a block coin? Is a block coin acceptable?
No.
Or does it have to be a Bitcoin?
No, John's got a new one out. I can't remember what John's new coin is called. I'd have to go back and look it up. Matt's like, oh shit, we got real hackers and hoodies. Don't even. We do not want this broadcast on the. Ooh, I like it.
Oh yeah,
that is a good one. That is a good one.
Representing Marines.
Yeah.
I'm representing the Science Museum.
Oh, that's awesome. I got the. I have my Innocent Lives one. The Innocent Lives. The.
Oh yeah.
The Life
Barbecue.
Fest. Yep, it's totally awesome.
Hey. You guys keep talking. I'm going to go out by the fire.
So you're going out of the toilet into the fire? That does look like the toilet. I got to be honest. It's a decent-sized pervy.
It does look, it has that toilet-esque kind of, it's the wainscoting. I'm telling you.
It feels good here.
Well, I mean, the throne is a good place. I'd be honest. I mean, there's about half the time I compile like my LinkedIn posts while I'm actually sitting there for 5 minutes contemplating the meaning of universe and life. And all of a sudden I'm like, oh my God, I need to talk about this.
Yeah, I get rid of all my toxic waste in this room.
All right, go hit the fire. We'll be around. Ryan, you're awesome. What's opening scenes to the proper version of Star Wars? The little small thing. And if that was brown, you'd be perfect.
Oh, yeah. I know what you're talking about. Yep.
The little munchkin things.
Yep. The Ewok. No, not the Ewoks. Not the Ewoks. Those were the furry munchkin things.
Yeah, those were the stupid things that really did need to be barbecued.
This is actually just Minnesota winter wear. Like legit, just in the closet. Yep.
You know that we got snow for the last couple of days.
I heard this, but then I keep looking at the weather that says it's going to be in the 80s. So my fingers are crossed. I'm hopeful.
Yeah, it should warm back up again. It went from 102 to 98 to 36 in literally 24 hours, maybe 36 hours.
So that's what living in Minnesota is like. So you got a taste of regular winter here.
Yeah, I've not lived up there. I lived in Wisconsin. I was just up in
close.
It was. And Chicago, I was in Chicago for a while as well. That was a woohoo moment.
That window gets you.
Yeah. Actually, you know what? Actually, I did a slide talk today primarily about voting machines, and I was bitching and screaming, but I also kind of laid into our industry for a minute. And I actually want to talk about that. I am going to play devil's advocate tonight, and I'm trying to find the ruddy slide. Actually, there's 2 slides that I want to grab. I want to talk a little bit about it if I can freaking find it. source. Where is it? Oh, come on. All right, I'm trying to find it. I know that it's floating around somewhere. Oh, there it is. Yeah, all right. Yeah, I'm going to hold this slide for later on in the conversation.
So I'll wait for Ev to get back to get it kicked off. But
yeah, totally. We can just kick back and hang out. So Jawas? Oh, awesome, Jason. Thank you.
Thank you, Jason.
Go Pack Go from Matt. Absolutely. Yeah, you're up in Minnesota. Do you support those weird, stupid people in purple? Or you
go local sports team.
No, come on. We got to have a conversation about this. We got to have there's got to be a realistic.
So I will say that Purple Pride Minnesota is very much a thing. Very much a thing. And we do not like the Cheeseheads so much. Not a big fan of the Bears either.
Yeah, well, we all hate the Bears. I mean, let's be perfectly honest.
No, with you and your Green Bays, I see you.
It's not really hate the Bears. It's more a case of there's like a level of empathy for the Bears these days. They just can't get their shit together.
Yeah, it's I don't know, man. I love going to games. I struggle watching them on TV. I like to be there in person. This whole, you know what I mean? Like
Yep. It's either
baseball,
I'm there in person,
football, any of that. In person, I'm all about it. On TV, it's a little hard for me to stay engaged.
Yeah, it's either for me, it's in person, or I want the 7 minutes NFL highlights and listen.
The highlights.
Yeah, that's all. I used to pay for like the NFL Rewind. I paid for that for a couple of years. But in the end, I just didn't watch it. I didn't have time to. So for me, honestly, more often than not now, it's either, to your point, it's either go to a game or I'll catch up on whatever looks interesting on the highlights reels.
I actually started watching marble racing. So mid-pandemic, there was no. I like myself. I like rally racing. Desert races. NASCAR's cool-ish, but I'd prefer to watch drag if I got to watch people just drive on pavement.
Yep.
Right.
Do you know that I used to rally drive?
Yeah, you were saying that.
Yeah, I still have some of my Pro Drive stuff from the years that I was actually racing with them and sponsored by them. So yeah, lots of fun. We'll have to actually. You come out here. We'll either take the Boss out or we'll take the AMG out, and we'll go have some fun up in the hills.
I like it. Looking forward to it.
Yeah. No, it'll be nice. You come out here totally. Yeah, you'll have to come out to the farm as well. You're out. It looks like you're out. Yeah, come out to the farm, see what we're up to at the farm, and various other things.
I like it for sure, man. We kind of tentatively plotted out the track and should be good.
Well, hang on. You're going to be. Hang on. Let me go back to your message from earlier.
Without giving the world too much of my travel details.
Yeah, no, I'm just debating where you're going to be potentially in this neck of the woods. But I'm guessing that's not 2015, 18, 19. You would be here for a Friday. No, you won't. You won't be here for a Friday night. You'll be out in the hills. Well, we'll figure it out.
Well, whatever works. Mm-hmm. Flexible.
Yeah, you know the deal. You're here as well as you want to do. You know that.
So Evan's just in the black. He went from face covering to just blacked out altogether.
Totally. There's we can see a bit of the mask and that's it. Oh,
there we go.
That's nice. That works.
That's living right.
That works.
Sit out in the backyard with the fire. What the hell's going on? Can you see me?
Kind of ish, but not really.
Good.
So
that's how I like it.
Just to get us into tonight, and we can squirrel away in any direction we want, because whatever, that's what we do. So tonight's topic is about ransomware, and it's titled "Get Your Hands Up and Give Me All Your Money." Right? So ransomware, where do we start? It's older than people think.
Yeah.
The highest ransom to date, as far as I can find, just got paid $4.5 million.
Who paid it?
Equinox, something like that. I'm bad with pronunciations.
The ones over in, was it Portugal or somewhere?
I believe so. Yep.
Yeah, I'm well aware of that one. As in, I was on the phone with some of those folks for a while. Yeah,
Oh,
that
nice.
one, yeah, and it actually started higher than that, quite a lot higher than that. There was some interesting negotiations that went on.
How much does that piss you off?
Oh, don't even. Just it pisses me off for a whole bunch of different reasons. The first one being that a very good friend over in the neck of the woods has been trying to get us in there to help them. And then when they actually finally realized that their asses have been handed to them, because they spent more time faffing around and not enough time actually doing shit, it just got worse and worse and worse and worse and worse. And then you end up at that point in time, you know, your hands somewhat tied because now you're in a negotiation stance. So really, it's a matter of playing poker with the folks asking for money. And I just went through this with another one who got hit. There was a healthcare facility that got hit, and to their credit, thankfully, they had offsite backups. They didn't have anything else. I mean, they all stayed and a bunch of other stuff, but they had sufficient offsite backups that we were able to basically do this to the ransomware side of it. They took a hit on time, but everybody agreed with it, and off we went, and just they went and recovered.
No data exfiltration.
Does not look like it. No, actually, I take it back. There was data exfiltration, and there's nothing. I mean, at that point, there's nothing we can do. They released it. They literally took it and released it. And they released it within like 24 or 48 hours. They didn't even give the company enough time to actually get the shit together to go, hey, we're going to do something about it. They just basically dropped a bunch of the data. So at that point, it was like, well, fuck them. If they're playing that game, then we will do everything we can to recover as best as we can.
We're dealing with somewhere between 4 to 7 ransomware responses a week.
Yeah, and here's the really frustrating thing. When I was hanging out with the CyberClan folks, they were of a similar number, and they were low because the insurance people they were dealing with, they were handing off, it was between 50 and 100 per month to 2 different companies. And I mean, and that's just 4 companies that I know. So you've got 4 companies. You guys are hitting 7 to how many? 7 to 10, 5 to 7, 7 to 10.
It depends. 10 on a really busy week.
Yeah.
I think 4 to
So
5
let's
on a really slow week.
Let's say 35 plus them is 70 plus another 2. That's between 150 and 200 companies basically a month that just the 3 of us here are aware of. I mean, it's and each one of those is taking a chunk of change. I mean, it's just ridiculous at this point. It's a tsunami. And
what I get pissed about is if I spent what you spent on a ransom on actual awareness programs at work, on actually investing in my people, investing in the right reduction of risk, I'd have spent less. You wouldn't have had it happen.
Yeah, what is it? It's an ounce. I can never remember. Somebody's gonna have to put it right. An ounce of prevention, a pound of cure. Isn't that the right way of putting it?
An ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think those numbers hold true. I remember the reason I ended up in Colorado is because a good friend of mine who was the CISO for a company in Ohio moved out here like middle of the year, and I literally got a phone call in September, October, like, hey, we need some help. I'm like, how bad? He's like, bad enough there's a plane ticket on its way to you. And I'm like, ooh, one of those. And I turned up October 31st. We got the phone call from Visa November the 1st or 2nd or something like that. And I knew it was coming, and I knew what I was walking into. But it was, congratulations, you are the common point of compromise. And I know how much money we spent to remediate, and how fast we had to do it, and how much shit was on the line, and how much lawyer money was on the line. And then, 2 years later, you're putting your budget together, and it's a 1/5 or a 1/10 of the budget of what it cost for that 6-month sprint basically to get the shit together. I mean, it's ridiculous how much money we spend after the fact, not including the actual ransomware itself now.
And the part that pisses me off is, you've been in, well, there's lots of things that piss me off, but, we've been, I mean, it's not new that you need to back up your data. It's not new that you need to protect your backups. None of the shit is new. It's fundamentals.
And
That shit was hot. What I love is that the backup strategies that work the best are the oldest.
Yeah.
Put it on tape and stick it in a box.
Oh,
it will save you.
I did a post on LinkedIn. I either did a post or commented on a post or something like that. And I was like, get your ass back to tape. I mean, it was interesting. There were definitely two very distinct, but there were the people like, oh my God, how can you dare do that? That is terrible. It won't work. I'm like, I'm not telling you back up your entire fucking architecture, but find out the shit that's going to kill you. Find out the stuff that's going to die you and get that onto a tape. Because guess what? Tape actually freaking works. You put it in and you take it out and nobody can get to the damn thing.
Yeah. Air gap backups are still the #1 defense. You know, what's sad is I see vendors out there selling things like immutable backups for ransomware protection. Now,
Yeah.
I'm all for an immutable backup if I want traceability protection. If I'm looking for chain of evidence protection, making sure that, you know, I can prove who did what, when, where, why.
Yeah.
An immutable backup's great. If I'm looking for data stability, because I have volatile data sets, an immutable backup is great. It doesn't protect me from ransomware because I can still encrypt it. And it blows me away that they're like, well, if you do immutable backups, you're ransomware proof. We saw vendors when we were all at RSA, ransomware proof.
Yeah, again, another one of those things that pisses me off. You know, somebody actually tried, I got into we'll call it a discussion. It was actually relatively civil. And they were like, well, my backups go to an offsite place. I'm like, okay, I can still get there. Well, you have to go through a VPN. Okay, I can still get there. Well, they go through a VPN and it's a this and a that. I'm like, look, if your fucking computer is attached to that in any way, shape, or form, or you open a gate from your fucking computer, if I'm sitting on your computer, I have ransomware that looks for that shit. It does nothing else but looks for the backups and fucks you up.
First,
which part of this do you not understand?
You're on mute, Evan.
Sorry, I didn't want you to have to hear the fire.
Oh, no, don't worry about it. It's totally fine. Fires are nice.
Yeah.
And well, that's not
unless you're in California or bits of Colorado or yeah.
No, sunny Minnesota. But the, you know, that attack sequence is the same attack sequence that we've seen for the last 20, 25, 30 years, right? It's find a vulnerability, compromise the vulnerability, elevate your privileges, pivot, plant a backdoor, come back later. It's the same shit over and over again. So the fact that you think that good attackers don't pivot, I mean, that's how it works, right? So you're right. The ransomware that they've built is looking for those connections, right? And pivoting into, those protected environments.
Okay, so I'm in the middle of doing a pen test at the moment for a company, actually up in that general neck of the woods. Well, not that, actually the other side of you're over there. I know, they're somewhere over that way. Doing a pen test for an organization at the moment. They knew we were coming, totally fine with that. They fully patched their WordPress system. I'm like, okay, good. Yeah, well done. Congratulations. 2 hours, we enumerated the architecture, got the systems out. Jake's currently at the moment beating the crap out of passwords and stuff like that. We've already taken out the JSON architecture. We've done everything else. And they're like, oh, we're fully patched. Okay, nice. Thanks. Congratulations. It's nothing. And that's just us dicking around doing this stuff. And I'm doing that and we're doing that kind of stuff. And there's 6 other bloody things going at once. And we're that far in with only a couple of hours worth of effort, to be perfectly honest. And you put a bit more effort into that thing, you're in, you've got your architecture, you pivot, it's game over because we already enumerated all of their users. We know every single user because JSON just went, and here's this one, and here's this one, and here's this one, and that. Would you like the admin? Because they changed it. They were a little sneaky. They changed it from admin to something _ something admin. I'm like, oh, sneaky people, but thanks for giving it to me anyway.
Right. And the user ID is the same, right?
Yeah. Sadmin.
And so we look at that, and that's sitting out on the open internet, and it's patched, it's fully patched. Well, it's like the shit that we did over in the Middle East back in January. There was a competition, fully patched Windows 10 system and sitting on a virtual architecture, and it was whatever, it was like 50,000 to get to the VM and another 50. I think it was like 25,000 to break Windows 10, 75,000 to break through the bare metal. We knew what we were up against. So there was a team of us from a couple in the US, and I was over in the UAE at the team doing this, a couple from UAE, a couple from other places. 68 seconds is what it took us to basically get in, break the 10 system, break through that architecture. Oh, by the way, it had all the IDS, IPS, DLP, HIDs, endpoint shit on it as well. And then bare metal was, it took us like 45, 50 seconds, and then bare metal was like another 20 seconds, and we were done. And that was it. Because, I mean, we were prepared, but 68 seconds, we have bare metal at that point in time. None of the shit that you have is going to stop you. What are you going to do about it? I'll take your environment. I'll take all of your shit. I'll ransom the hell out of it.
I'm telling you, people need to start. Well, go ahead, Evan.
Sorry. Speaking of patches, what the hell is with Windows this week? I had 2 reboots.
Bugs, big bugs they don't want to talk about.
Mac's the same way. Yeah, Mac got its ass handed quietly. Got its, same thing. It's had some pretty hefty stuff come in this last 72 hours.
All right. Sorry, Ryan. Go ahead, man.
That's okay. But I completely forgot what I was going to say. So
you were going to compliment Chris.
I was going to say that the fire really brings out the warmth in your skin. It's like you have this nice essence about you. It's very glowing.
What's that?
Debonair, I would say. It's very debonair.
I need a cigar or a pipe.
Oh, I feel the pipe, but it's got to be one of the ones with the big swoop. It can't just be the straight cob. It's got to have the big S curve in it.
Yeah, and a cup of tea. And what do those English people do? What's
crumpet. You need a crumpet.
Right.
It's like a trumpet, except it's a cookie.
Oh, I like cookies.
Cookies are good.
Cookies are really good, man. Fuck.
So I just want to thank you, by the way, for going hunting with the Squatch with me. That was a lot of fun. I enjoy it thoroughly. That was a good time.
Yeah, I haven't shared that video yet. I
don't know that I want you to share that video. Maybe that's just a personal moment. Yes, but with more S curve, Chris. So that one's a little stumpy. It's got to have you know what I'm talking about? Like the old school one.
This is a Dunhill. This is an actual Dunhill. This is one of the very first ones that actually had that proper curve. Yeah.
Yeah, I need
okay, yeah, I see it now. It's got that sharp curve.
And so that's a modified Dunhill version, which has a bigger ball but less of a curve on it. But
that's a good pipe.
See, we just came in from the field hunting fox.
Yes, I always called it hunting.
We do after down at Jesse's. We go after the coyotes because they like it. He's got 40, 50, 60 chickens, and they do tend to like taking the chickens as snacks, same as the hawks. But he tends to concentrate on the coyotes.
How are your puppies with other puppies?
My puppies?
Yeah.
With his puppies? Yeah, they're good.
With anybody's puppies? Are they good with other puppies?
They'll be they'll be fine. Milo will be like, "Oh, this is awesome! Love, hugs, and kisses." Daisy is interesting. Daisy can get a little territorial, but she won't get aggressive. But if the puppies start running around, she's like, something to chase and kill. And then Milo's like, oh, that's what I have to do. But as long as there's a level of calmness and we'll keep an eye on Daisy, no issues at all.
So I have a very timid, submissive, all I want to do is play. And if it's chase me is the game, great. If it's chase you is the game, great. Let's just do running. I'm half Greyhound and I'm half German Shepherd. I want to run.
Milo will have a ton of fun and we'll just keep Daisy away because if she sees running, she wants to go after it. I'm not sure where the mentality comes from, and I'm not sure in her history that I don't know anything about. I'm not sure why the logic is, but yeah, with her, if it's running, it's fair game, and it's fair game to be brought down, not to play with. Milo's like, play!
We'll figure it out, but good to know.
Yeah.
So, how many companies do you think are getting ransomware today that are just handling it internally? They're not, think small and medium business. They're not calling in an expert, not calling in an attorney. They're not even calling the cops.
Yeah.
14,742.
Excellent. That is highly accurate. Where did you get that from? The FMA?
I don't name my sources, man.
So the FMA from my ass. So, you know, I think that's happening more than we know. I think that's a stat that goes untracked. I think there's individuals at home that are paying them out of embarrassment or fear because of the nature of the scam that they got. You know, they went to the adult website and then bam, they got hit with ransomware and they're embarrassed and don't want to tell, so they pay.
Oh shit! I just found some stats that actually are a little how should we say, blunt beyond all reasonable doubts. All right, so here we go. A new organization will fall victim to ransomware every 14 seconds in 2019. So okay, not bad. We're doing all right. Like 4 times a minute, well, 3 times a minute.
Well, the one thing that I hate about our industry is our shitty data, our shitty statistics. You know, all of our studies are always biased. You know, if you look at who usually sponsors the studies, there's somebody who's trying to sell you something related to whatever it is that they're trying to study. So I wonder what the source data for that is. 1 every 14 seconds.
IBM. So it's an IBM study. Just trying to check it out. It's actually so this is. I'll drop it onto the private. Actually, I'll drop it onto the public one so everybody can see it. To be perfectly honest, because I think people need to see this stuff. But I'll also drop it onto ours as well. There we go. This is what gets. I mean, you're right. Absolutely.
Every 14 seconds, and allegedly we have about 6.5 million businesses in the United States. Is that just the United States?
I'm actually looking at. They've actually got. So rates of ransomware. 2020 every 11 seconds by 2021. Cybersecurity.
That's a global number.
Yeah. Because down they have statistics down. Yeah, there we go. Because they got Germany, United States, Canada.
No, you pronounced it right the first time.
Canadaland.
And as Evan likes to say, we keep you safe from it.
Not Petya, FedEx, 300 million. I mean, I mean, the numbers are just, and okay, so here's the thing that pisses me off, and I'm actually going to share my screen for a second if you guys don't mind. Okay, so actually, before I share my screen, this is, if you don't mind, a slight tangent for 2 seconds. Here's what really, really irks the living hell out of me about this. So I come to you, your company, Ryan, your company, I'm like, hey, I can protect you. I'll sell you this widget. And I'll also sell you, you know, this widget that goes with this widget. And if you put these 2 widgets together, I can protect you. And by the way, not only can I protect you, but at the same point in time, I'll actually keep an eye on things for you. I'll do your stuff. I got you covered.
Oh yeah? How much?
$3,000 to $5,000 a month. I got you covered on this one. By the way, there's a 20% annual renewal on this one. And no. So I got you covered.
But I'm safe for the bad guys, right? I'm safe. Absolutely. If I buy those 2 widgets, I'm completely protected.
We got you covered. You're all sorted on this one.
Oh man, that's fantastic.
Now, 3 months go down the line, somebody clicks on something happens, you just keep doing your business, and all of a sudden you get your ass handed to you. Here's what pisses me off about this whole thing now, is we come in like a bunch of fucking hyenas, and we end up charging people for ransomware removal, and ransomware recovery, and ransomware this, and ransomware that, and negotiations with ransomware. And then we'll also double charge you because, by the way, we actually have to recover you from the fuck ups that we did because the stuff that we sold you in the first place didn't actually do what we said it would do.
Oh, it gets even better. It gets even better. So you see that number down there, saved from avoided ransom payments?
Yeah, hang on. I'll go back to the share screen again. Sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So when you read that,
yeah,
you think prevented from paying ransom. But what you're not thinking is amount saved by negotiating down the ransom you paid.
And that's, I hate to say it, that's what we did with the folks over in Europe.
So that shit does piss me off too, because it's, you know, oh, well, we saved this and avoided ransom payments. Yeah. Oh, well, as an average business consumer that doesn't understand the ransom game, that sounds like I don't pay the bad guy. I'm interested in not paying the bad guy.
Yeah,
now, when I'm laying on my face,
yeah,
and I'm my livelihood's at risk, my family's at risk, my home's at risk because my systems don't work. Other people's families and lives and livelihoods are on the line. Now somebody says, well, I mean, I'm the expert in all this, and I think you should pay them. Well, they want more than I have. Okay, well, let me get on the phone real quick.
Yeah.
I mean,
negotiate.
And the sad part is, and Evan pointed this out, I want to give him credit for pointing this out. Law enforcement has paid ransoms.
Yeah.
We have good guys being victimized by crime, paying the criminals. The cops are literally paying the criminals.
Yep. Well, that's why the FBI's official stance is simple. The FBI's official stance is we do not pay. You will not pay because
and every one of them is whispered, pay it in the ear because it's the unofficial opinion. Come on now.
I know. And this is what pisses me off. You know, when I first came to you and told you that I had all this shit, this is how I sold you on it. I sold you on it.
Absolutely.
I'm going to keep you safe. That 100% secure thing, I got you covered. I got your ass. I got you back. You're in good hands. Mm-hmm. I got you covered, you know, and by the way, you know, because I'm good, I can help you. I can help you not go through these tens of hundreds of thousands of fucking companies to try and figure out exactly which one is actually, I mean, it just, anyway, so yeah, it pisses me off.
I like this. This is good. You should send me this deck. I like this.
I will do. Yeah, this is the deck I gave today. Oh yeah. Yeah, we've had this conversation about narcissism.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, all right, I'm going to close this out. Well, I'll shoot the deck off to you.
Absolutely, that'll be good. You
so
know,
one ransomware attack every 11 seconds is 2.8 million companies per year, assuming that there are no re-ransoms.
Which, I mean, there's been a couple I know, like they'll come back after 6 months and go after them again. I've seen that.
Well, that's because you go on the list. If you pay, you go on the list of people that pay. There are multiple sites out there on the network, or as the dark net, as the other people call it. Right? You go out to the network and you can find lists of who pays.
Yeah.
This company paid, that company paid. Here's how much they paid. There's point bragging rights associated. You know, right? So
of the ransomware attacks, what would you estimate are re-ransoms then? You know, so
I would ballpark it out, knowing that our industry numbers are garbage. I would ballpark it at about 35%.
Okay, so you're talking then about 2 million companies per year are ransomed. If we accept the 1 every 11 seconds.
Yeah, yes. Those were global numbers. Yeah, that's global.
Right, and so to put that number in context, there's an estimated 582 million companies in the world.
Yeah, which is, I mean, again, it's next to nothing. We haven't even dipped a toe into this. When you think about it. What's that, less than half? What are we, 582 million, you said?
0.49%.
Oh, yeah, I was going to say, yeah.
On a global scale, yeah, that's nothing.
Yeah.
And most big companies consider it a cost of doing business now.
Right.
Why did you know what I found fascinating? Do you guys remember when Bitcoin really surged? There was a huge, Bitcoin's worth all this money now.
Yeah.
I have a friend named.
What a lot of people didn't know was at that same time, a lot of different security firms and law firms were advising companies to buy Bitcoin now because the price is low so that you have some to spend when you get your ransom attack.
Yeah.
And it actually affected the Bitcoin market significantly because it was big companies buying caches of Bitcoin to hold. Not if they got ransomed, by the way.
It's when.
Yeah. When. And they did so knowing that it was a when game, not an if game, which blows my mind because, hey, what you spent on that Bitcoin, if you'd have invested in some good, secure, scanned offsite backups, take time to do forensics on the backups. Why not? It's less expensive to do forensics on your backups to make sure they're good and clean and trustworthy than it is to get caught paying these ransoms, especially since the price tag seems to keep going up and up and up.
Yeah.
Because they figured out they can make the money. I had heard a stat, I don't remember where I heard it, but it said that the organized crime, aka the mafia, makes more off of ransomware than they do drug trafficking and human trafficking combined.
I mean, think about it. I mean, it's a no contact sport at the end of the day. Why would I risk? Because I mean, again, at the end of the day, if I'm carrying around a kilo of something white and flaky and interesting, I'm going to get my ass handed to me if somebody finds it. And the same thing with human trafficking. I mean, human trafficking is a pain in the ass because, you know, humans talk. The buggers try to run away every now and again.
Right.
And you can only control a human for a certain amount of time. And it takes time, effort, and it takes training to actually control a human. Too much fucking hassle. Why don't I just go and ransomware a couple of companies and there's my income? I mean, we make it so easy.
We make it stupidly easy because we abandon the old basics.
Yeah.
We figured out a long time ago that an offsite backup would save your ass. That was canon until the cloud came along.
Yeah. And then everybody started to move to that and didn't really, I mean, even it was interesting. I can't remember if I put a comment or I actually put a bloody blog post out. I can't remember which one it was. But it was interesting how many people still look at that. But now the problem is people don't want to go back to that because so many of them don't know where their core data is. It's like, guys, back up your freaking Active Directory at the very least. Just get your ready AD server. And by the way, you should know where your crown jewels are. Get that shit backed up, and everything else is lanyap at that point.
What I do when I'm designing any kind of recovery plan around a cyber attack, I follow the same principle as I would a total catastrophic physical disaster. I follow the same principle of I must rebuild. The only variance is which site location I go to. So in a full-blown ransom attack, I'm using 90% of my physical disaster recovery plan.
Right.
Because I'm rebuilding from bare metal. Because I tell my people not to pay. I tell my people to prepare. I tell my people to have those goods scanned, clean, known goods secured backups. Yeah. There's a process to that, right? It's get it off box, do your forensics, make sure it's clean, then encrypt the piss out of it, and then move it somewhere that it can't be gotten to from an internet connection.
Yeah.
Whether that's in a box 3 feet away from the rack, whether that's an actual offsite at Iron Mountain or some other storage.
Remember, Iron Mountain, that was their bread and butter. Was I'm going to come away and I'll take little boxes away from you, and I'm going to take tape pouches away from you, and that was their bread and butter. Now they just buy data centers, and everybody does this.
Right. And to your point earlier, if there is a path I can traverse, if I can get an acknowledgement when I knock on the door, hi, oh, you responded, cool, I can get in. It's time, money, effort, and influence, but you can get into anything. So I think we do need to readopt what we traditionally did. I think we need to go back to tape, and we need to go back to treating a cyber event as a physical site disaster instead of trying to invent something new. Yeah. Dust off that plan. It's laying on a bookshelf somewhere. Go blow the dust off it. Swap out your red book for your, cloud storage recovery plan, and go back to physical medium.
Well, here's a counter. So, ransomware seems pretty bad, right? And you read the news all the time. It's everywhere, allegedly. But if you look at the data, even the 1 every 11 seconds, if you put that into context worldwide, if it's 0.5%, assuming that data is correct, it's conceivable that we're making a bigger deal out of this than we should.
Well, okay. So, here's the interesting one. Again, to your point, I'd be interested on the stats. You and I just talked a little bit behind. Some of those numbers don't add up. And honestly, that was one site. So, it would be interesting to look at a couple of other sites on this one. There's Safety Detectives has got an average ransomware per incident, 8,100 in 2020. Average cost of ransomware caused downtime is 283,000. So I think this is, this brings up an entirely different part of the conversation, which Evan, I think you're right on, is we don't even know. And this is one of the biggest frustrations in our industry. We talk about breaches and we talk about how many records have been lost. We don't even have a good handle on that. We don't have a good handle on how many people are paying ransomware, how much is being paid, how often is being paid. we're just going off of everything that we can think we know. You look at the likes of Coalfire and the looks at some of the other big companies which do a lot of these. A lot of that stuff filters into the D&B report and a few of the others. So I know they have some interesting stuff and stats on it.
Right.
But
for being such a high-tech industry that claims to be so data-driven, amazing how data poor we are.
Oh, when it comes to actually validating and justifying our existence and trying to help educate people, yeah, we're not good at it. And I think that's also part of the problem. Because again, if I put my CEO or my CFO hat on, and if I look at those statistics, and you look at me and you go, okay, I've got a 0.49% chance of actually being attacked, I'll take my chance on that one.
Right.
Whereas if you turn around and look at some of the other statistics out there, the ones I've actually got on one of my slides, they came out of Polymon and FBI, there is a 33% chance of you being attacked in the next 24 months. So it's like,
right. And one thing I've always hated about Polymon is the sample error rate is tremendous.
Yeah. Well, I went up against the feds as well. I use the feds as much as I have a love-hate with them. Occasionally, they actually have some fairly decent stuff.
Especially if they actually give the stats. I mean,
yeah,
they could do a better job of providing clarity to some of the information that they have access to without blowing operational things. Like, you know, we all know they know what's floating around out there.
Yeah.
So why not find a way to roll that up into a generic stat and share it, right? So, but you guys are right, and the numbers are all over the place. But one thing is true: it works. People are making money from it. It is most assuredly going to grow.
Right, but I really want to focus what we always advise or try to advise is focus your time and attention on your most significant unacceptable risk. Right. And so the fact that our data sucks in our industry in terms of because it's all over the board, right? We just, it just did the math on the first, I guess, reference, right? And it comes out to about $3 billion of data or money at risk, not necessarily money that was paid, right? But that number seems really, really low. And that's based on one attack every 11 seconds.
And right? Especially in the same report, they've got the other number sitting at 75 billion. It's like, okay, so which one is it? Is it 3 billion?
Right.
All right. Now I want you to jump into my dystopian vehicle and take a ride.
Woohoo.
Now it's the chemo pump that's ransomed. Now it's the water treatment plant that's ransomed. Now it's your cyber-physical systems that are ransomed, and lives are at risk. Now, is 4% acceptable to you?
Yeah,
maybe it is. Maybe it is.
Yeah, absolutely it is, because you always have to accept some level of risk, right? It's not about risk elimination. And I know people get, really emotional about that, but data is data, math is math. There are going to be people who die, period. It's just, that's how it works.
So I saw it, and what prompted that is I read an interesting thing today that said that due to the increase of cyber-physical and the increase of cyber-physical systems being at risk and attacked, that there's legislation moving forward to hold CEOs of companies legally and criminally responsible.
Yeah.
By the year 2023, right? They're thinking?
Yep.
Yeah. So I just shared something. So I put this is, again, LinkedIn. This is a LinkedIn post I put out. I tend not to date. This is this is the Word document I use to show them. Have a quick read of it. And I put this out as a LinkedIn post, and it got some interesting reactions. Let's just put it that way.
Yeah, it's good stuff, man.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, but that's my point. And so I'm glad to see that, once again, we're on very similar pages, but this is a reality that is heading our direction. If we don't begin to change how we interact. We don't pay ransoms for humans, but we pay them for computers. Let's at least be consistent. If we're going to pay ransoms, let's rescue some people. You know what I'm saying? Do you hear?
But we do pay ransoms for humans.
Not officially.
There we go. See, here we go. So again,
I understand that bags of money may or may not have been dropped out of aircraft.
And so there we go. The official line is we don't pay ransomware. We don't pay ransoms for human. But now let's go south of the border and let's go not just to Mexico, but let's go down to Colombia.
Oh, it's a cottage industry.
Oh, absolutely. It's a fantastic cottage industry.
And so is the private security that then accompanies such people that are subject to kidnapping.
Absolutely, which is, let's face it, that's the physical version of our digital self.
Symbiotic relationships.
Yeah.
Well, that's one of the so in the last podcast when Brad was sick, so shout out to Brad for leaving me alone on the Unsecurity podcast.
Shout out, Brad. What's up?
Yeah, sup. Hope you're feeling better. No, but the whole talk was about context. If you take anything out of context, it can seem like the biggest, most catastrophic thing in the world, right? You see somebody who dies from something and you think, oh my God, we have to do something about that. But when you put it into context, you realize, my God, I've got other things that are probably more important for me to attend to. So that's one of the things that I question about ransomware, because it does grab the headlines. It does seem really sensational and it does affect people's lives. I'm not trying to minimize that part of it. Well, what I am trying to question is it as bad as we think it is? I don't know.
No, it's probably worse. I'm going to take a negative approach on this one. I'm generally a very positive person, but I'm going to say when it comes to getting fucked over, people are not inclined to brag about it. So I'm going to say that it's actually worse than what we think.
Ooh.
Feedback.
Yeah.
See,
driving the point home.
When I look forward to the day when we really do have better data for this.
Me too.
So then we can be more definitive, use more facts, use less opinions, make better decisions. Because
unfortunately, we have to work with what we've got. Right. And let's be honest, gentlemen, we all make money because we go, well, my gut says this is most likely the most true answer to what I've been presented with, because I don't have facts, because I don't have information, because I'm missing all but two pieces to the puzzle. And they look like they might be corner pieces. And usually if they're corner pieces, well, that looks like that's the right-hand side corner and not the left-hand side corner. So it's probably this.
Actually, so here's an intro. Oh, so actually, let's take a step back. I'm actually in this particular one, I'm playing Johnny in the middle, to be perfectly honest. Here's, I think, where it gets interesting. The quantity and the number of incidents that we hear about and see is probably on the rise, just purely because there's just so much of it about. The impact of 95% of those is ridiculously regionalized. Like ridiculously. And here's my logic on this one. So, and I'm using it, we go to data. We know, we have a very, very good idea as to how much data has been lost, because most of us have got access to it on the darknet, let's be perfectly honest.
Right.
So we know how much data has been lost. We can quantify that. So we're actually pretty good at quantifying that. So if we take a step back and we go, let's look at maybe the top 10, top 20 breaches. And I haven't done this, it would actually be really interesting. If we know that, in the case of the stuff we have over in Germany, we have 19 billion accounts basically sitting there. If I take the top 30 or top 40, the top 30 breaches, I know for a fact, because I did the math on this, is more than double the amount of people and population on this planet of data that's been stolen or lost. So you're looking at 7.5, so 14 or 15 billion elements of data, okay? That's just 30 breaches. Now you take the other X million amount of breaches, now you have a much smaller, tens, hundreds, and thousands of pieces of information. Yes, it adds up, but it's not as bad as me taking one of the big breaches that we know about. And I don't want to name names because we all do that all the time. I mean, it doesn't hold value, but take those top 10 breaches and go, hey, it's one of those. That's a huge impact. I mean, that's millions of records. So
3 billion, one breach.
Yeah. Yeah. And so and you multiply the top 30. I did the math on it a while ago. Let me rephrase this. I took a couple of the top 30s and I mugged them all together.
Well, that's not one breach, but sorry, that's one release. Sorry.
Yeah. Right. Yep.
Yeah. But it's one release, and but the breaches, I took the actual breaches themselves and looked at how many records. I mean, we all know there's a couple out there that have done 1s and 2 billions. Yahoo. and a few of the others. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, whoops. By the way, Yahoo's trying to sell me. It still wants to try to sell me Endpoint Protection, bless their little console. It's kind of cool. Let's see.
Seems legit. I'm just saying, seems legit.
Absolutely. So if we look at it that way, I think Evan's kind of onto something. But I think what it is we hear about all of the smaller ones. We hear about a lot of them, but potentially the actual impact, the non-regional impact is so much smaller. So, you know, mom and pop shop down the road gets their ass handed to them. They're on the hook for $5,000 or $50,000 or whatever. It affects 20 people.
So let me throw this at you. What about all the printer scanner breaches where passports, driver's licenses? Sorry, didn't mean to make you choke.
I'm just like,
I just hold on, work with me here. So the home user who you know all had that HP. Oh, good Lord, geez, I got a cold today. You know, device, and you could pull from the scanner those sensitive documents from the cache, because making the cache bigger was a really good idea. Thank you. And now they're for sale on the darknet, and these humans have no idea that their high-res 4K scan of their passport is readily available, and Yuri over in Yugoslav will gladly do the hand stitch and stamping and such, and before you know it, you've got a document.
Oh, they're nice, and they're good quality too. I've got a couple of those floating around from various people. I mean, they're beautiful coffee.
I mean, you know, you know, you see this huge influx from China right now with documentation coming in that is up to snuff.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, when we were breaking into a military facility, and we obviously we had the CAC cards, we had the blank ones, and we made our own versions of the CAC cards. Obviously, the chip itself, we couldn't replicate that. But when you walk up to a gate and you flash it, 50-60% of the time, they don't actually scan the damn thing. So we have a holographic printer, and we ended up buying the necessarily holographic imaging stuff we actually bought one from China and one from the Soviet Union to compare the two of them. And they were great. I mean, they worked perfectly. We were able to print actually Marine Corps, we were able to print military, some of the government agency stuff on there, all good quality stuff.
Right. So
we're talking data.
We're talking data theft, right? Because ransomware these days isn't just about locking up the data for hostage. It's about stealing the data, exposing the data, selling the data, right?
Right.
I mean, they're doing so much more. I mean, they're holding you for ransom, and then you pay, and they still drop it out on the dark net for sale. They just don't tell you about it.
So one of the cases, I think where you were going with one of these, with some of the stat or data, was the number of records that have been lost or stolen, right? And I think it's fair probably to assume that every record for every U.S. citizen has been compromised in terms of
100%
social security number, things for identity theft, right?
Yeah,
absolutely. And I will go to say that probably 40% of Americans have had actual full-blown documentation, official passport, driver's license, etc., compromised.
So two things come to mind here, and maybe I'm taking us down a tangent, but one is, I forgot what the one was. But the other is, what do you do about it, right? So if the only thing you can do with data that's been compromised in terms of confidentiality, something like this, you can't get it back.
Nope.
Right? So the only thing you can do is to make the data useless.
Right. Now.
Change it.
Okay. Y'all are Americans in this show. Okay. All right. Let's talk about this. Okay. Let's have a good conversation about a standard identity card for this country.
I have one. It's called the Real ID. It's in my pocket.
I don't want that.
Exactly.
You guys go on for a second. I'll be right back.
Because
I don't want that.
No, I know you don't. And I know why you don't want it. Let me rephrase this. I don't, because I will not put words into your mouth, but I can have a guess of some of the reasons.
Well, the main reason is I want control over my identity. If it's my identity, I want to have control over it.
Right.
The racket here is I was given my identity at birth by somebody who I didn't give permission to give me this identity.
Yeah.
And then this identity is used everywhere without my permission for all sorts of purposes. And then it's lost or stolen, and it doesn't become really my issue until something bad happens, and then it all falls on me, which is bullshit.
Right. And I think this comes back to a whole bunch of reasons. Do you guys remember the early days of the credit card theft when the banks would try to hold the individuals accountable?
Mm-hmm.
And there was a whole bunch of discussions because, I have my debit card. I hand it to somebody to go pay my bill, and they disappear off in 3 different rooms or whatever. 99% absolutely legit, no problem. They take care of it, they bring it back. That 1%, as they walk back, they get a thumbnail scanner and off I go. That's not my fault unless I make you bring your entire till system to me, or I follow you in the back. Right. And we haven't trained people to do that.
Well, here's more to this racket too, right? The fact that there's a fundamental information security concept that's so busted in the use of social security numbers, because you use the same number for identity as you use for authentication, right? That's a fundamental issue.
Oh, geez, don't even on that. Well,
right?
God, it's first question. It's like you walk into the doctor's office. Can I have your social security number? No. Why do you need it? Well, we need to validate your insurance. I got the fucking card. You don't need to steal my. You don't need my social to put it onto another bloody system that's going to get breached.
Well, nowadays you might as well give it.
No shit, because it's already out there in about 10 different places. You're right. And so again, tax people. Every single year I file my taxes because somebody very, very nicely several years ago filed my taxes for me. It was actually really, really nice of them, and I was highly appreciative of them doing it for me. I just wish I'd have gotten the $2,500 check back from them, and then maybe it at least had some input into my taxes being filed for me.
Right.
But now I get a PIN number every year, and it's a different PIN number, and the tax people think that's perfectly adequate.
Well, and there's more to the racket on identity too, right? You've got 3 credit bureaus that maintain databases of your identity and your transactions and your credit history and whatever, right? Now, if they're the ones collecting this data, shouldn't it be their responsibility to ensure that it's accurate? Why does it fall on me to ensure that data is accurate when I never gave you permission to collect it in the first place, at least not explicitly? Right. I'm sure in some stupid document in some.
Oh yeah, just
somewhere.
You checked a box.
By agreeing to breathe, you have agreed to our terms and conditions.
Right. But there's even more to the racket. When you can't figure out how to maintain accurate records, which should be your responsibility.
Yeah.
You then sell me another fucking service, identity theft protection. It's like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
Why are you selling me stuff to protect my identity on a database that you're supposed to maintain? It's your job to maintain the integrity of the database.
Yeah. Well, originally we didn't have access to it, right? Even now there are scoring systems you don't have access to.
Yeah.
That are used to make decisions about your ability to do certain things in this world.
And they don't. The context isn't there either. I mean, that's the other. I mean, again, so you remember you're talking to somebody who, obviously went through a divorce a while ago that was nasty. And then I had to go through a company chapter 11 as an individual because the debt to my ex, because of the company stuff, was too great. I couldn't get rid of it, and I still can't. And so, my credit score went from really nice to freaking 400s. And only now it's climbing back up again slowly but surely. It's, there it is, like 6 and change, just over 6, I think, something like that now.
Well, so I'm going to back up to social security number. What I was going to say about the veterans is if you were in the service prior to I want to say 76, maybe 78, your social security number is public record.
Yeah.
Because it was your service number.
Yeah. Right. So, that's the US. In the UK, it was different. So, obviously I remember what my service number was, but I also remember what my father's one was. Whenever we used to move, I used to have to write it on all the ruddy boxes. So his was not his national insurance number. His wasn't his NI number. But yeah, I remember when I first came to the US looking at some of the service records from Ancestry and all that crap when they were public. I'm like, oh, this is ridiculous. This is scary beyond a reasonable fucking doubt. No wonder I can go through this call somebody up, claim to be their long lost great uncle, aunt's fucking first cousin, removed third person that's got a box of gold at the end of the bed that I really want to give them. And by the way, here's their number, here's all their information, because I have it because you fucking published it.
Right. So, okay. So I don't know. That's a whole nother, I think we could talk about a whole shit show about just the racket around personal identity.
But
well, okay. The reason I bring up the point is that it's another avenue, another vector, right? It's, they're targeting these people. How does ransomware get in? Well, most common cause is business email compromise, right? They're getting it in because they're doing the phish. And in a lot of cases, those phishes are getting more sophisticated because they're leveraging things like that open source information about those people to say, to Chris's point, I'm your long lost, nephew, cousin, brother, sister, brother-in-law. And I've got this thing here, click here to learn more. And because that's how the ransomware ultimately gets deployed, which I think is also part of the equation, right? It's not just what it does and the racket and the crime part of it, but it's the getting your employees to give a shit, to slow down, to think, right? Well, how do you do that? Well, they have to actually care in the first place. They have to care at home. They have to care, right? So as we talk about how to fix things, what do we do about this? How are we going to make this better? I think that's such a huge part of it, is getting the average person to care. Now, Evan, you brought up some really good points. Is this even an issue to care about? If it's only 3%, 5%, well, I have insurance. There's a 5% chance my car is going to go to shit, get hit, something drops on it. So I get insurance and I move on. Or is this part of a bigger issue? Is this about health, life, and safety?
The point is, we get data, so it's all hypothetical.
Yeah, and I think that's part of the problem. Until there's all sorts of reasons for that. It goes back to people not being able, willing, and there's no comeback. I want to put my hand up and go, hey, I screwed up, and here's what happened because I need you to learn from me. Until everybody is willing to do that, we won't get accurate numbers. Quite honestly, until most of the lawyers get the hell out of the room, we won't get accurate numbers.
Yeah, that's true.
Tell me I'm wrong. How many breaches have you walked into that the first question out of anybody's mouth, it comes from the lawyer going, do we have to declare this as an incident?
It's not a breach if nobody knows.
It's not the first question, but it's always a question.
Yeah,
sure.
Yeah.
And
it's
I can't
like, what do we do, and do we have to declare?
How many breaches I've been involved with where I've advised this is absolutely a reportable breach. And, my advice would be that you should report it. Now, I work under a contract with you that I can't report it on your behalf. Right. It's not a criminal matter. It's a civil matter, or it's an administrative law issue. So, I have no obligation. And I actually can get myself into legal trouble if you don't report it and I say, well, fuck it, you should have reported it, so I'm going to go report it. I can get in trouble for that. You
just can't do that. As soon as that document's signed, you're done. You have to. And that's part of the reason I stepped out of forensics. I moved away from doing like full-time forensics with lawyer teams, because I would spend most of my time, quite honestly, helping to construct cases to get people who just needed to put their fucking hand up and go, I screwed up, off on a technicality.
Right. Well, and I've advised, I would say, over the years, it's 30 years now. So maybe a couple hundred-ish breaches over the years. And maybe 80, 90 of those were things that should have been reported to some government agency, whether it be a breach notification law or whether it be a HIPAA violation or whatever. And of those, I'd say less than half actually reported it. Yeah. And there's nothing I can do about it. So you sit here and about millions of records that were exposed where the victims have no clue.
Yep.
Schools are the worst.
Dude, my own school district.
Ooh.
School district that my kids go to school at. Ironically, I got assigned, they knew that I work in this industry and that I'm here and whatever. So they reached out to me to help them with the forensics. And so I started, you get, all of your legal shit out of the way and everything like that. And then Baker Hostetler was the legal firm assigned to it, which is a big law firm.
Yeah.
And my buddy, who I've worked on other breaches with before, in this case, it was the Anthem breach. That was a big shit show.
I'm well aware of that one. Yeah.
Yeah. And I was there to clean up after Mandiant left, and Mandiant did a great job on their investigation, but they're not good at cleaning shit up afterwards. So we were there to clean up afterwards.
Oh, interesting. We
but anyway,
probably have a couple of other mutual friends, because one of Jen's good friends came in there and took over on the compliance side. She ended up running the entire compliance thing to help them get through all of that. So yeah, there's probably some more common friends that we have on that one.
Well, and there were the three biggest blues that were hit by that one was Anthem, Primera, and Excelis.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I mean, there's just a whole bunch of shit, and then they paid a ton of money. There's all kinds of cool stories. We'll have to share those someday. But what the hell was the point? Oh, and I'm still working under attorney-client privilege on that to this day. It was 2015. That was 5 years ago.
Yeah.
But anyway, the school district that my kids go to school with had a breach, and it was so reportable. It's like, holy shit, my neighbor has kids, and I want to walk across the street right now and tell them, dude, your shit was just stolen.
Yeah.
But I couldn't.
Yep. No, and that's my I think that's part of the reason I stepped back.
That's why our data sucks.
Well, and that's it, because again,
that's why our data sucks, because we do our work under the umbrella of shut the fuck up.
Yeah.
Well, you have to.
Well, you do, and so here's the other side of it. Inherently in our business, we don't share with each other how we're doing what we're doing, because that ultimately defeats our operational security. You never let the enemy know, and everyone's a potential enemy, what the plan is. That's not how this works. You don't go, hey, so I'm running this and it's configured this way, and oops, they got me like that. Because by telling them I run this and I run it this way, you've inherently shown your hand and blown your OPSEC, and that's inherent in us not to do that. And so we live in silos, we live in little boxes, we have all the war stories that we can tell each other around the campfire.
I'm in a campfire.
He is. I mean, literally a campfire at the moment.
Right? So we can do this. We can tell war stories. We can say, I mean, shit, I know of too many schools that bad things, big companies, big, huge ed tech providers with gaping, glaring security holes that should absolutely be shouted from the rooftops, and nada, right? I think our industry just has that element of it that then makes it like impossible to get data. So I guess where
you bring up a really good point. I want to push it before you got data breaches where people steal data, right? Those are easy to brush under the rug and not have in most cases. But ransomware is not. Ransomware usually means a disruption in service, and somebody is going to notice. So those actually get reported a lot more than these other things.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And I think that's so to that point, this is where, to me, it is a concern, because it's gone from next to nothing being reported, and now we're reporting it dozens of times a day. And I think that trend's going to continue, because it is a disruption and somebody's going to notice. And it used to be just, fucking pay it, we'll deal with the lawyers, whatever else is. You can't do that anymore if your down systems are down. And I think that trend's going to continue more and more and more, because what's happened is the attackers and the adversary standpoint have gone back to the well, and rather than just basically taking the money, they're going back to the well, and then they're embarrassing people, and they'll continue to do it.
Yeah.
Well, so you bring that up, so let me segue. Let's talk destructive ransomware. Let's talk about the new trend of scorched earth.
Yeah.
Sometimes for money and sometimes for not.
Oh yeah, I mean,
they're
there's some.
evolving to more of a scorched earth approach. We've seen it a couple of times now. Thankfully, it's not too big. I personally think it's probably some nation state pokery.
Well, dude, you bring up that's a great point.
The ground, but it's the technique is evolving. The long game is evolving. The multiple go to the well. The hit you now, go away for a while, pop back up, hit you again.
Yeah.
Or hit you now, go away for a while, pop up and threaten to leak your data.
Yeah.
Well, when you talk about nation state, you don't think that companies do this to other companies?
Oh, they 100% do. Corporate espionage is very real. It's fun work if you can get it. Just don't get caught.
Right. But scorched earth, I mean, what better way to get yourself a leg up, right, than to
remove everybody else's capabilities to do something. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well,
there are companies that have DDoSed other companies on specific peak periods of business.
Yeah.
To gain competitive advantage. That's straight out of the corporate disruption playbook. Like, hey, I want to screw my vendor. Ooh, today's Black Friday.
Oh no, you know the best one for that? We ran into it years ago, Valentine's Day.
Oh yeah.
Ran into that several years ago.
Business cutthroat.
Yeah, ran into
a racket.
Yeah, that was a really interesting engagement, and that's all I can say about it. Yeah.
Yeah, and therein lies the problem. Yeah, there's the root of the bad data issue.
Yeah.
That's all I am allowed to say about it.
Yeah. No, I agree. Hard to say on that one.
You know what I mean? Evan hit on it. You hit on it. I've got my
okay, so here's the thing. Okay, let's take a step back from that. I can't name names, name companies, name situations, but I can learn lessons and I can pass lessons on, which is kind of what we all do when we give presentations, when we all sit down and we lecture to organizations. I mean, I did 2 today. The first one this morning was on artificial intelligence. And it was simply like, oh, we want to deep dive on AI. I'm like, okay. I had half of the talk was on the questions that you need to ask the vendors, suppliers, and AI people so that you understand what the hell you're actually looking at before we even go. Like, well, that's not a technical deep dive. I'm like, you don't need that shit. You actually need the questions. You need to actually know the questions to ask these people.
Right.
And then we went off and squirreled onto some of the crazy shit. But I mean, so the first one was it. And then this afternoon was all about the voting system, which is talk about democracy fucked up beyond all reasonable doubt. But
here's the cool thing. 87 counties in the state of Minnesota, and Security Studio is helping all 87 counties get the fundamentals correct in using our tools.
So again, I'll caveat this. I can't say which states I'm helping, but I'm helping a couple. And what we're doing is getting them so they understand their digital footprint, so they actually understand what data is already out there about them. We're helping them understand that balance between what they have to say in public interest and what they should be saying in public safety. So we're helping them with that balance. And then we've been beating the crap out of all their voting systems to help them understand where the challenges are and helping to build the case to literally throw a digital and a legal Molotov cocktail through some windows for some lobbying people in fucking DC.
We should work together more on that too, Chris.
You think? That would be cool. You saw that I dropped the presentation. We'll have a talk offline about some of the stuff we've been doing. I think Jake's probably sitting on the call as well, listening in on this while he's breaking into the company we're breaking into. But he was helping me on this. And I mean, we went through their systems. It's careful. We had to be very careful because, again, it's a government system and some of them are very careful about what they want to see and what they want to know because then they have to. So you got to tiptoe, but
come on, don't find that hole. We know that one's there. Don't find that one.
Well, and that's such an illogical argument. I love when executive management brings that shit up. It's like, okay, risk ignorance is defensible where?
We had Secretary of State on the line with some of these conversations we had for one of the states. And again, one of the states.
It's defensible if the AD's behind it.
Yeah, don't even. To their credit, though. You know what? To their credit.
Who, the AD?
I'm just saying, if the AD's behind it, it's defensible.
Yeah.
AD meaning what? Sorry, I don't know what AD is.
Or DA. Sorry, I was being dyslexic there. DA.
Oh, okay. Okay, good. I was like,
I was
thinking maybe you were.
My apologies.
No, I was thinking maybe you were thinking AD. I was thinking maybe you were thinking AG, like the Attorney General.
No,
that's also true.
Well, that too. That Also, I was thinking in the general sense that if the uppers of the state legal system are in support of it, it generally seems to be okay.
But there's always a way to fuck that up too.
Wow.
We're doing a little bit of that, Ryan, you and I.
We're trying, man. I'm not shy about asking other people what they're doing to make it better. Actually, so just quick plug for a second about a company I think is doing great things. We have a partner, PCmatic, and what they did, I'm very proud of this. They made their product available for free for a year to every child in America that's going to school. They made their antivirus solution available because a lot of these kids are using at-home computers, mom and dad's dusty ass PC from circa 2000, maybe even 98. And so they made their product available for free. All you got to do is send them an email, say, I'm responsible for a child. You're using a device that doesn't have antivirus. Can I please have some? And it's free. So pass that message along to people.
Yeah, and those are exactly the type of companies that we like to partner with, right? It's so fitting with the mission.
100%.
Love those guys.
I know we don't plug stuff on this, but I thought that was worthy to mention.
Make that one happen, definitely.
All right.
So, Max, who's waiting for the great iPhone ransom? Me.
Oh yeah. We know there's exploits because we know the companies that are building
it's
exploits.
Just a computer.
Okay, no, actually, here, take a step back on this one. Screw Max for a second. I'm actually helping out one company and possibly helping out another company soon over in Australia. You want to talk about being able to drive a fucking dump truck through the biggest hole in the universe? The fact that the Australian government has now dictated that they, when on request, will have to put a backdoor into any encryption. I mean, and it's legal. It's legal over there. I remember it came out last year, this year.
So dumb.
You want to talk about a fucking dumpster fire with somebody sitting there ready to light it.
Why would you do that? You're too close to China. What's wrong with you?
One, who do you trust?
Nobody. The answer is nobody. I don't know if you met me.
You have to trust the government. In Australia, you have to now trust the government because they need to be able to see everything to protect you.
No.
Oh my God.
That's not what they do.
It's not just
don't protect anything.
One, it's not just trust the government that they're not going to use it against you, but trusting the government that they can actually protect the shit.
Exactly. I mean, that's what I love about it.
Hold on. Let's real quick. I pay a lot of good tax money to have a very responsive police force.
No, you don't.
Best case conditions.
That's not what you're paying taxes for.
I am 3 minutes away from help under the best case conditions. And I don't know if you've ever shot a gun, but it doesn't take 3 minutes.
That's not 3 minutes to get there. Yeah, that ain't going to happen. Yeah.
So I appreciate the help when they get here. If there's more than one, maybe I'm running low.
No, you stage it. You always stage it. Always stage it. So the way you stage it is at the front door. You basically, so the front door, you've got something that's easy and quick to get hold of. Your second line of defense, you put your semi-automatic or fully automatic with at least 3 clips by it. Then the next step back from there, which actually here is the lab office, you have at least 2 to 3 sections of weaponry with a couple of spare clips. If you get to the point where those are running low, then it's a bad day. Then at that point, it's like, honestly, in my case, the machete comes out. It's like, well, fuck.
It's got the Roomba loose on them.
The Roomba with the Claymore. Those are awesome. I
got the Roomba loose. Good luck.
Yeah. We actually built one with C4 on it. We had a Roomba.
So let me throw this at you guys.
Yeah.
What do you think would happen if tomorrow morning we woke up and 60% of the cell phones in America were locked out due to ransomware?
Make it happen. I'm
saying, what do you guys think, like, from an impact to the economy, to work, to life? Like, if 60% of the cell phones tomorrow morning said, fuck you, pay me,
How many, actually, okay, so here's an interesting one. How many people still have landlines? We have a landline at the house here for, it comes with a modem and
Not
stuff like
it.
that.
Not it. No
No?
landline. Nope.
Yeah, we have a landline. Evan, you got a landline? Did we lose Evan?
Sorry.
Evan
Yeah.
doesn't even have
Oh,
internet.
Yeah.
do you have a landline?
I'm walking around the backyard while you guys are
Awesome.
talking. Yeah, absolutely. I have a landline. Yep. I love analog. I'm a big fan of analog, even though my landline isn't analog.
They're just running down the fiber.
I know, even though it's not analog anymore, but it still makes me reminisce every time I pick up the
I got in the newspapers a couple of years ago. We responded to an attack against a number of retail facilities. There were like 4 or 5 retail facilities that got hit. And we went in, and it was the card scamming systems. They were basically, they took out the POS system. So we went in and did a whole bunch of stuff. And they were like, how do we keep doing transactions? I'm like, do you guys remember the old ones? You'd plug into the dongle, you do the pin pad. They're like, yeah. I'm like, get them out of the storage. They're like, what? I'm like, yeah, go get them out of storage. They're like, seriously? I'm like, you want to keep taking transactions? Go back to the telephone lines, plug them in. They did it. They haven't moved away from them in the several years because they've not had an incident since.
There's something to the old school. I was helping a fast food restaurant. So I used to help out with POS systems at various fast food chains. And we were at this particular chain. We had published a new version of the OS, the POS OS.
Yeah.
Took a giant shit. And it was horrible. It was bad. We were down. Bricked the registers.
Wow.
And I am in rural, low-income Georgia.
Oh, yeah. I know that neck of the woods. Yeah.
And people get a little more excited in that area.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's going down. It's going down, and we reverted back to good old-fashioned pen and paper, because what wasn't going to happen is burgers were not going to get sold. Oh no, burgers getting sold. We selling burgers right now.
Oh
nope.
Yeah.
Credit cards.
Kids don't know how to use pen and paper anymore.
ATM at the strip club. Say what?
I said kids don't know how to use pen and paper anymore.
Well, there's that. But we went back to pen and paper because burgers had to get sold, and that was that, right? But it was fun telling people, well, the ATM next door at the strip club works.
Business for the strip club.
Oh yeah.
That was an interesting job. That was yeah. I'll tell you some stories when I come out and see you, Chris. That was.
Oh yeah, that would be a
there's some stories with that job that involves guns and hookers and all kinds of fun stuff.
Oh my God. I mean, you're right. Rural, that neck of the woods. I've done some stuff in Tennessee that you're right. I mean, you love them, but you know damn well they're just going to step out and the shotguns in the back of the truck, and they won't take you out, but they'll take the electronics out because that's what pisses them off.
Oh yeah. And squirrels, like we're in an urban setting and you're squirrel hunting.
Yep. Suppressor. 22 suppressor with a suppressor on it. It's great. Jesse used it. Let's just rephrase that. We're aware of some stuff. Yeah, there's some stuff that happens around this neck of the woods as well. Yeah.
I dig.
Speaking of suppressors, we had a ton of fun. We ordered a whole bunch of oil filters.
Oh, okay. Yeah, sure. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Fully machined, I mean, the whole lot. Well,
it's perfectly legal here.
Yeah. What?
Yeah, Minnesota, absolutely, partner. I can hook you up right now.
My friend
paid the 200 stamp duty.
You paid the duty.
You pay the duty, but you can manufacture your own.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, my friend was the one who passed that law, Jim Nash. He wrote that law.
Shit.
Yep.
You can't do that. I mean,
not only can you make your own, but if you make your own, you don't have to register it.
Get the fuck out of here.
No, you're allowed to make your own firearms. That is 100% legit up here.
Colorado.
Your own. If you go to sell it,
yes,
you must register everything.
So Colorado, and somebody might have to confirm me, Colorado, you can manufacture for your own use, but you can't sell even if you stamp it and everything else. I'm pretty sure
Correct.
unless
Correct. You have to have a license. You got to have an FFL.
Yeah.
If you want to.
Yeah, that's crazy on the.
I found out in Minnesota, you can legally own up to, I believe it's 3 hand grenades a year. You just have to pay the tax. And it's a hefty tax. I think it's $1,200 a grenade.
Shut the hell up.
Yeah, I was looking into this. You can have them. It's because you're allowed destructive devices. They just have to be paid for, registered, and you sign this nifty little waiver that says, what Fourth Amendment? I don't have those. Yes, officer, you can come into my home anytime you want. You can have full auto. They have to be Curo, but you can have full auto machine guns. They have to be stored in a very specific way, chained to the floor with, like 4-inch.
Colorado is not. I don't know what the official rules on Colorado for that one. I mean, I've got obviously the stuff that I've got from the various folks that have given it to me. But I'm not sure what the official rules are from the civilian side of the world. I don't remember. I think it's actually no full autos because they had they reined in the magazine count. You were grandfathered in if you had 30 round mags. You were grandfathered in, but I think all they sell you now is like 12 round mags or something, which to me is another one of those WTF moments because I'm like, I'm just going to hold 10, 12 round mags and I can easily in, out just as quick as I can just run through a 30, almost as quick. Let's face it. It's just whatever. Yeah, Jason's talking about the polymer 80. Yeah, I'm well aware of those polymer kits. There's a few of them in very, very close range from here. We can have them here. Jesse, well, let's just say we have a few of them here, and we've made our own. I've milled lowers for ARs and various other things. Yeah. There are definitely, I mean, I'll be honest, again, it's one of those things with this country. It's actually kind of cool. I do like the fact and the ability to do that. I think the accountability is interesting, but yeah, that's another interesting conversation for one day.
So I'm going to throw this out. Ransomware is the only crime, or ransom in general for that matter, is the only crime that requires the active participation of the victim in order for the crime to be successful. So
no.
Why do we
I don't
allow
know if that's true.
Yes, you have assault, the victim doesn't have to participate, et cetera, but as far as like, there has to be an active participation from the victim in order for the crime to complete.
Okay, yeah, for the complete, absolutely, yeah. For an execution, no issues, but for a completion, definitely.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, business email compromise, the financial fraud stuff also, I think.
Yeah, scams also require.
Yeah, but I see where you're going.
Maybe not only. Let me recant my statement. It is a crime that requires active participation from the victim in order for it to come to fruition.
Mm-hmm.
And so the point of making that statement is to say that why do we think it's okay to keep paying? You guys realize if everybody just said fuck off, it wouldn't continue. It would die. It would stop immediately. If there's no money in it, then they wouldn't do it. There's no point other than to be destructive. And that I don't consider to be ransomware. I consider that terrorism.
Well, I mean, so that's my question. If it goes away, what does it get replaced with? Because, I mean, this is business. I'm sorry. You're affecting my earnings at that point. And you take that shit away, I got to earn my living.
Right.
How do I do
they
that
used
now?
to rob banks. They don't do that anymore physically. They just do it digitally.
It's not worth the money anymore. I mean, you get what, $3,000 or $4,000 out of a bank? I can take 100,000. Yeah.
I don't know. Do they even have $100 anymore? I have no idea. I haven't been in a bank in 20 years.
I go into banks. They still have monies. They still hand over monies in banks.
That's good. That's good.
Some of them still give you lollipops.
They do. Wells Fargo gives lollipops still. I'm much happiness with Wells. They still.
I know US Bank gives you money if they give you shitty service.
What?
You get $5. Yeah, that's their 5-star guarantee. If you stand in line for more than 5 minutes, you get $5.
Even now with the whole COVID shenanigan? That surprises me. Wells probably needs to adopt that. I had to.
Pay my $5.
I had to.
I walked up to the counter. I said, "Hey, been here a while. Where's my $5, sir?" Very good, thank you. Here you go. Here's $5 cash money. I'll pull it out the drawer right now. Here you go.
Oh wow, that's interesting.
But with COVID, the bank isn't very busy, so.
Well, so it's the opposite.
Hustle dried up.
I hit.
Waiting in line at the bank. It's a good side hustle.
Yeah, totally. Love it.
Yeah, like $1,700 a year if you do it once a day.
I'm just saying. But you know, I think there's that component needs to be recognized. Like, okay, companies, what you spent on a ransom. If I take the last ransom paid, this big one that you helped out with, my God, do you know what I could do with that amount of money?
Yeah, well, there's build several good security practices
and improve. I mean,
but there's two reasons why people pay the ransom, right? One, it's cheaper than me having to try to recover, or I'm forced to because if I don't, I'm out of business.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the second reason, insurance company always, not always, but more often than not, tell you to pay the ransom.
Yeah.
So if I could go back in time and say, Chris, if you use a chainsaw, you'll buy new pants. He might think about not using a chainsaw. I don't get why these people don't understand the basic principle of an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. You spend a quarter of the money and you avoid the problem.
We're humans.
All right.
Again, so we're humans. Go back to my kettle analogy. As a kid, don't touch the kettle, it's hot. Don't put your hand on the stove, it's hot. What did we all do?
Verified.
As teenagers. You don't want to do that shit. You don't want to do that shit. Okay, we're calling the ER. As adults, hey, want to help you? No, I'm fine. Hey, I want to help. No, I'm fine. Hey, no, I'm fine. Oh my God, why didn't you tell me about this shit? That's human.
Yeah, there's this inherent belief that it's not going to happen to me.
Yeah, I am invulnerable until proven otherwise. Bad news happens to everybody else.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of times, executive management might be, sold a bill of goods, and they talk to their IT. After they talk to their IT shop and say, "Hey, are we protected against ransomware?" And your IT guy says, "Yeah, of course we are. We have backups."
Yeah.
Yeah. The management doesn't think to ask, have you tested the backups?
Are they any good?
Right.
Are they on a Barracuda box, which is hooked up into the damn network, and it's running great backups, but it's right next to the Active Directory box. Yeah, great, smart ass move. Not
right.
And so, to your point about holding CEOs accountable for, we were talking about in 2023, for physical harm. Maybe we should hold, IT people or information security people accountable for malpractice.
Do like we do with doctors. Congratulations, the information you gave me was flawed beyond all. We have that. I mean, as a company, I have liability insurance, I have professional liability, and a couple of the other insurances, in case anybody does ever come back to me and say, "Good grief, what was that crap and bill of goods that you told me to do, you dumbass? We're taking you to court." Nobody's used it, touch wood, but I mean, it's there. But I think, and again, okay, so here's the problem. I mean, you have with physicians, you have malpractice with physicians, but in some ways, that's not necessarily a bad thing, because at least, they're doing something, they've learned from it. So do we have the same? Are we going to get into the same twisted architecture where I might actually use you if you've had a couple of issues, because maybe you've learned from them? And then, I mean, there's so many variables.
Why don't companies just issue a simple, or we could create it even, just a simple contract that they can give to their IT person that says, I am protected against ransomware, meaning I can recover data, my backup, whatever, put the criteria down on paper, and then have your IT provider or your IT people, whoever, sign off on it.
It's not a terrible idea. We should write that up.
And then when that turns out not to be true,
yeah,
Well, you fucking lied to me.
Breach
Either
contract.
Here's the challenge. Okay, so all right, we're no longer, in most cases, we're no longer a one-person shop. So who signs off on that bit of paper, and then how do we deal with accountability?
The person who signs off on that paper is, you know, if it's a consulting company, it's somebody who represents the consulting company. So it'd have to be an executive manager and somebody with signing power.
Yeah.
If it's within your own company and you're talking to your own IT person, I don't know if you really have any recourse anyway, but so
here's the, and again, okay, so a perfect example on this one. Let's play, and let me play devil's advocate on this one. You want endpoint protection, and you want a consulting company in to deploy endpoint protection. Okay, you actually don't care what endpoint protection it is, just as long as the shit actually does what it says on the box. So you look at Ryan and I, two different companies, and you're like, hey, I need you to sign this contract. You will accept liability for deploying this endpoint protection in a way that does what it says on the box. My problem is, number one, I'm not the one that's deploying it. It's going to be a team of people that are deploying it. I'm also going to have to work with your internal IT team, which is going to add complications, because if you didn't buy professional services, then there's problems there. If you did buy professional services, how do we keep the patches, managements, upgrades? I'm going to have to look at your patches.
That's a different case. I mean, you're talking about endpoint protection, so that's different than.
Well, give me another one. Give me one, because to me, there's so many variables that we have that really aren't in our control.
Just ransomware, that you are backing up the data and you have backed it up in a way that it is protected and you can restore it in the event of ransomware.
Okay, that one, I got you. That one's, touch wood, should be fairly fucking simple. Let's be perfectly honest.
Back it up, scan it.
And if
store it somewhere else.
And if my company, you know, is signing that contract, because you always you're not forced to sign contracts. You can walk away from contracts. We do it all the time.
Right.
But
many people don't.
If we're signing the contract that states these things, well, then it's my responsibility to ensure that the relationship between our company, our analysts, whoever's doing the work, it's my responsibility to ensure that that relationship with their IT people and that all goes smoothly. If it doesn't, or if that's a concern for me, then redline the contract and add that to the contract. But I think one of the things that's really frustrating with information security, just in general, is the lack of accountability.
Yeah.
You know, this thing got ransomed. Well, who the fuck is responsible for that?
Right.
Russians, Chinese, North Koreans.
The blame dice out now for the best.
You know, because if you hired me to protect that shit and I didn't protect that shit, well, then you should hold me accountable for it. You paid me for it.
But hold on. I can't protect you 100%.
No. That's not what I'm saying. 100%. So you can't prevent things 100%, but you can recover from things 100%.
Yes, agreed.
With ransomware.
But
that's what I'm guaranteeing.
This is all about DR. This is just a different type of DR. I don't know why people treat it any different than any other DR that they have. This is just DR. So I go back to something I said earlier in the show. This is your physical site disaster recovery plan minus different location.
Yeah.
Minus different power source, minus different network. It's the rest of the plan you have is the plan. Don't pay the ransom. Start to rebuild the boxes. Start to stand up your services. Do it from known good images. I've always been flabbergasted since ransomware really gained popularity. I'm like, I don't get it. I don't get it. This is old timey stuff. If I go back to a 10 megabyte disk is 72 inches in diameter or larger, what were the rules?
Right.
Make a copy and move it the fuck off site. Those are the rules. Those have always been the rules.
It isn't any different. Yeah, exactly.
It's no different now. I just don't get it.
And so we know that. And I think the piece that's missing, people don't do shit unless they're held accountable for shit. So how do we hold people accountable?
Well, the worst part is they did do the shit. They stopped doing the shit. This is all shit that used to happen, like clockwork.
So what did happen? Okay, so I mean, is it that can we blame the cloud for this, or did we change
Cloud. I
priorities?
blame the cloud for this. Can I blame the cloud?
I don't know. Can you?
CLOUD? Cloud.
Okay, where the hell did that come from? I've seen.
I don't know, but it's brilliant and I love it.
I've seen a couple of people with certificates for cloud.
I want a certificate. Where do I get a certificate? Somebody send me a link.
I got Sufyan hit me up online and he had one. It was bloody hilarious.
Somebody tagged me in a post like, hey, you need this.
Yeah, I don't know where it came from, but whoever did it, yeah, to your point. Okay, so.
But I think it was the advent of the cloud. It was this idea that I could move my backup somewhere else and recover them faster. That was the selling point for cloud backup. Recover faster.
Was it backup, or was it backup, or was it, hey, I can just put it in an environment where I don't have to worry about backups because
and what was the most common restore too? It was restoring a simple file that somebody accidentally deleted.
Yeah.
Right. And so, so we got lazy and we just got used to restoring files that somebody deleted. We didn't do bare metal restores. We didn't do testing of our entire backups.
Right.
Often, yeah.
How long does it take you to stand up your infrastructure? Now, if you're smart, you've made VMs, you've made workflows around the standing up of those services, you've snapshotted services, you've got all that. I mean, the most efficient organization has snapshotted the architecture and has it on standby. They have a cold copy and a warm copy.
Right. And people will claim, well, we're too busy, right? We got so many other we got so many other things going on, but when I used to do this stuff more often, these were such great training exercises. You take somebody junior and you say, hey, go rebuild a server and then restore the data on the server. And then give me a delta between that server and the server in production.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Teaches them so many things about shit. I mean, use it as a training exercise.
I really do think we need to embrace the old tried and true methods. I think that's
for sure.
Not paying the ransom. It's a lower cost of operation from what you're paying in insurance premiums, from what you're storing in Bitcoin, for what you're holding for forensic retainers.
Well, insurance premiums are laughable also because the actuarial data, we just talked about that, how we have such a lack of lost data in our industry. That's the same things that you write insurance policy rates on, is that actuarial data, and that's shit too.
Yeah. And we know insurance rates are about to skyrocket.
Yeah, because
why not invest a few bucks in, doing a proper secured offsite backup? We're really experienced at this, guys. It's not hard. You can even automate it.
But it's all the basics, man. It's all the basics. You see it all the time. If you look at all the organizations that we've done assessments of or that we've worked with over the years, how many of them actually mastered the basics, the fundamentals of information security, meaning you've got good backups, you've got a good asset management practice where you know your hardware, your software, your data, you know where that shit is, where you've just got the basics.
It's not sexy.
Well, right.
Nobody wants to do it. It doesn't look good on a resume. Nobody wants to do it. It doesn't look sexy on the resume.
Yeah. Well, there's no blinky light. There's no, cool, sexy thing. So I don't do it.
Well, that's kind of the general attitude of the business right now. Everybody wants to be able to say, I implemented such and such AI. I implemented such and such, this and that and this, right? They don't want to say, hey, I went back and did something that should have been done right 25 years ago.
Yeah.
And it took me 2 years to get it done.
I have a saying about AI. It's AI doesn't compensate for your own lack of eye.
Truth. That's the truth.
That's good. I like that one. Yeah, I got some. there's some other stuff that I talked about earlier this morning about the fallacies around the artificial intelligence. What was also interesting, there was an individual from one of the companies that I tuned into a little bit on that. They start with D and they end with E, and they have, that's a darker color, and you might be able to use tracing paper. Those types of organizations, and obviously, freaking Clown Strike as well was the other one. So there was one of those folks who was on the line, and we had a good discussion afterwards when he was trying to, we had a good conversation about what's right and what's wrong with some of the bits in the industry and what actual intelligence is versus what everybody's telling everybody it is.
Right.
All right. So apparently the solution is don't pay, get your shit together with backups.
I feel like this is a really no-brainer.
Do I need to go buy fucking LTE tape drives?
Well, and that's totally true, Ryan. It is a no-brainer. And so why aren't people doing it? And I think that's
a no-brainer. Because why do I forget the fundamentals from time to time? Why do I forget the most basic
think so.
shit,
I think it's
how wide the doorway is.
I don't think that's it. I really don't. I think it is nobody's held accountable for it.
You're not wrong. So at the same time that I'm not wrong, you're also not wrong. So your statement is additive to mine. You are 100% correct that the lack of accountability leads to complacency, and complacency leads to breach.
Right. I mean, CEOs, regardless of how information security savvy they are or not, they read the news. They know that ransomware is a thing. So demand that your IT company or that your IT organization is protecting you from ransomware. Are you protecting us? Because I'm holding you accountable for it.
Well, we're getting there. That's the beautiful thing. We are getting to a point now where the bullshit doesn't hold up anymore. The bucket can no longer hold another ladle of water, and it's going down. The insurance companies are sick and tired of paying out when they grossly misunderestimated the premiums they needed to charge. So they're taking a financial hit.
Well, they're still making a shitload of money, though.
Well, yes, but remember, people that are in love with shitloads of money get really upset when they make anything less than the biggest shitload possible.
Well, think about all the underwriters. So there was a good report out the other day that Lloyd's is about to write down $5 billion in losses because of the coronavirus side of things. So if you think of all those insurance premiums have got underwriters, and the underwriters have got underwriters, and somebody somewhere is already looking at a massive hit on the corona side of it, and then now going to look at our industry and go, you arseholes need to do something. Hey, segue for a second. I just went out to IBM just for shits and giggles to look at their tape drives. Apparently IBM's been listening to us. This is actually really cool. Let me just read this to you. Tens of thousands of cyber attacks occur around the globe every day, costing businesses and private industry trillions of dollars. I'd want to look at those numbers. The air gap created when tape cartridges are secured offline provides one of the most effective defenses against a wide range of cyber threats. Rediscover the simple, inexpensive technology that is virtually impervious to a cyber attack and already need. I actually like the fact they say it's virtually impervious. They don't say, all right, I've got to give IBM some fucking credit on this one. There's no bullshit. There's no marketing crap. There's no we're perfect. They actually nailed this one. The serious fucking kudos to whoever the hell wrote that one up to IBM. Apparently whatever we're talking about, IBM's listening.
I'm telling you, tape drive will save you.
Yeah.
But you better scan that mofo.
Oh,
just back up to tape. That's the dumbest shit you can do. You need to take it offline, bring it over to the box that's purpose built for sandboxing, scanning, and detonation, and make sure it is clean. And then and only then encrypt the piss out of it and move it offline.
Well, actually that's an interesting one. So I'll be honest. I actually don't care if you, well, no, let me take that back. Ignore that, because I imagine have lost stuff in time. Okay, ignore that one. Don't just, I was going to say, I actually don't care if you encrypt it or not, because as long as there's a man with a gun on the door, I'm actually happy.
But there might not be. It might be the back storeroom of an unsecured, right?
So, that's hence the ignore me on that one.
Well, and that's the frustrating part about, the use of the word cybersecurity with information security. They're two different things. And we've always known that information security, in order for it to be effective, it has to be a balance between administrative, physical, and technical controls.
Yeah.
Right. And we've known that forever, right? Physical segmentation of a network,
Yep.
right? Physical segmentation of production and dev environments. It's not just logical segmentation. That certainly helps, but we've also need to take into account physical segmentation. And in this case, with backups, right? Logical and physical.
I agree. And if you want to be able to recover quickly, snapshot those VMs, snapshot those ADs, snapshot those, they're going to start attacking the infrastructure. The trends I'm seeing now are gearing towards knocking off your Palo Alto, knocking off, some of those hardware appliances. You need to snapshot those too. It isn't just back up the database. I mean, you can, but you got to think about restoration time to recovery, right? Mean time to recovery.
Yeah.
How low can you get it? Well, if you snapshot your critical infrastructure, I just coached a client on, I said, how long would it take you to rebuild your PBX? They said a week. I said, then that's critical infrastructure if you need it sooner than that.
Yeah.
How disruptive is the absence of your PBX library to your business?
And I think, and how long does that PBX take to back up? The PBX takes 20 minutes, half hour to back up. Back the darn thing up, throw it on a tape, chuck it, and simple stuff.
Right, but that was critical infrastructure as we were going down the list because they needed it to do the business they do.
Yeah.
And the absence of would cause business not to function.
I mean, that was the healthcare company that we ended up helping out, and
may or may not have been a healthcare company.
Yeah. Well, there we go. But these folks were like, hey, these folks were like, hey, we got backups. I'm like, great, let's get on with it.
But it was, because it's interesting going through that because until I brought that up, it was never thought of as like, oh shit, you're right. The phones might not work. And if they didn't work, what does that mean to me? Yeah. And you're right. I am going to prioritize this over something else. I had one that I'm fighting right now. So the vendor got this email. If you do not remediate this issue, we will be forced to shut down the server and strongly consider not doing business with you. So the vuln is a undefined account and password for gaining access to a database that contains medical imaging.
That's not good. That's not good. That's that bad.
And the first email to the vendor resulted in a response with their security scorecard. This was the response to my vuln scanner found this. What are you going to do about it? And they said, but we got an A on our security scorecard. And I was like, that's cool. So again, what are you doing about this?
Yeah, exactly.
So I mean, it's. And I told the guys, I said, dude, I'd be worried if I were you, especially with Mongo.
Yeah.
You got Meow out there. You want all your replaced with cats? You want, I'm assuming a good hacker would do that, by the way. By the way, if anybody's going to hack a Mongo database full of images, if you could put cat pictures instead of the word meow, that would be greatly appreciated. Just saying, Imager's got some good content.
You start swapping them around. We did that. There's a very well-known clinic up in the hills from where I am, and we were engaged to go in there and do some stuff with them. And yeah, a hot knife through butter is probably the nicest way I can put it. And I know they didn't fix a bunch of it because, again, it was prima donna. In their case, it was prima donna physicians who were like, well, I need this. I have to have this. I'm perfect, and nobody's going to use this. I'm like, and in the end, I'd be honest, that's one of those fun engagements. In the end, I just walked away. I'm like, I can't help you if you can't listen. There's nothing I can actually do at this point, and I wish you luck. And when it does all go south, give me a shout, and I'll charge you twice as much.
Right. Exactly. I'll
Yeah.
charge you twice as much.
I
Exactly.
mean,
No,
that's how it
100%.
feels. I mean, it really is one of those things.
But you know what was sad was, and thankfully the client was like, oh, that's what could happen.
Yeah.
I'd rather turn it off.
Right. And
Like,
that's,
this is a vector. This is a way somebody can reach out and hurt you. Well, I don't want that. But I
yeah.
think, you know, to that point, how do we get, because whether it's ransomware now or fast forward a couple of years and whatever weird data manipulation, I changed all your user accounts to Jeff. Ha 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 ha.
It's actually, so to me, it's going to be more subtle than that. And this is the ending of the AI talk to me. The ending of the AI talk today. I went through. I had a long. It was actually a really good conversation with people, and you know, I'm like, look, I'm actually going to have a long conversation with you. I'm going to tell you all this, and you're still going to go buy shit. You know, there's no two ways about it. You're still going to do it. But here's how I look at this, Yun. Do me a favor, go do a little bit of research on adversarial machine learning. Because I'm not going to go and steal all of your data because, well, that tips the hand. But what I'm going to do is poison your data. What I'm going to do, and here, I'll show you exactly what I mean by this one. I'm going to steal the screen share again, if you don't mind.
No, I like it.
Where is the darn thing? There it is. So here's what I mean by adversarial. So this was the opening slide. And I talked about flying pigs. And I'm like, okay, if we take a look at adversarial research, what I take is the image of a pig and I manipulate a minuscule number of elements in that image, literally a minuscule number of elements in that image. And all of a sudden, that image of a pig is now referred to as an airliner. Hence, pigs can fly. You take that a couple of steps further, and we know this has happened because it has happened, and it goes back to, and I didn't talk about the actual vehicle company itself, but I'm like, okay, you know, we all trust the machine, we're all looking for autonomous vehicles, but then I take one more step further, and I put hidden tracking markers, not the obscure stuff that we've seen be used in the past, but we've done this. You take slightly hidden ones, and that now becomes a right turn.
Yep.
That is adversarial, you know, that's adversarial training. And we start taking a look and we're basically, you know, it's at this point, it's like, okay, I'm not going to be overt. I'm not going to attack you overtly. What I'm going to do is poison your AI system against you so that everything that you think is good becomes bad.
Mm-hmm.
That I think is going to be the next frontier, to be honest. And again, comes down to
that previous slide, did that say all your base are belong to us?
Oh, yeah. I actually, all your bases belong to, going to be interesting in this case, who they do belong to. Yeah, I love that. That gets used every now and again.
I love that game. I remember that.
I've gone back. So I did a whole series. Did you guys, I don't know if you guys saw them last week. Let me stop sharing the screen for a second. So last week I decided to do something a bit different. Monday through Friday, every single day, I played an adventure game with a poor, unlucky security administrator on LinkedIn. And actually, let me get the post up so I don't forget about it. And this was kind of more of a public servicey thing. I didn't send them to you. I don't even think I tagged you guys in them. I don't like doing that sometimes, but I figured we'd have a little bit of fun. So
I always try to tag me, man.
No, I try. You know, it is what it is. So what it was is on Monday, the poor tech sat down at their computer, but there was nothing there. It's a complete blank screen. Lights are on, nobody's home. You reboot, nothing happens. The computer whines, and that's about it. And then the calls start exactly. And then the calls start coming in. The computer's not working. The email server's down. Clients get to the servers and records. And I said, okay, what do you do now? And I'm like, okay, you survived that. Tuesday, you wake up, it's a ransomware attack. You wake up and you're greeted by a power plant. The Nebraska power plant engineer apparently got a call from GE who asked them to install some software to help things happen. And again, it's back to that. It's a tabletop. So I ended up doing this for 5 days. I ran through 5 tabletop exercises last week. But what I ended up doing, if you look at the pictures that I posted on LinkedIn, I took quotes from Zork and a couple of others like Zork and the Douglas Adams. I took quotes from that and I started to use those and manipulate those a little bit. And we ended up basically, it's a role playing. It's like, look, do me a favor, everybody, print these off and use them. I've given you 5 tabletop exercises that you can take to various people. Wednesday, I picked on the legal team. Thursday, I picked on the CFO because, the CFO called up very, very angry and needed money because they were heading into a meeting, yada, yada, yada. And then on Friday, I actually took it to us. I'm like, we are so worn out. We're so tired. We've had a week of dealing with this shit. And the CFO sends a thank you. And that thank you's got like a Starbucks gift card and one of the Starbucks Amex gift cards. And it ended with, you click and the screen goes blank and shall we play a game comes up. So what I was trying to do is give people scenarios. Like, look, here's 5 scenarios. Print the fucking things off and just go to the various people and say, hey, can I sit down with you for an hour and just talk about this? I want to know what would happen if we did this. But I'm going to carry this on. A bunch of people seem to like it. So I'm going to do maybe 2 or 3 a week. Somehow or other, I'll figure it out. But the plan is to keep these going. And the intrepid individual that's in here, she will continue to be, the poor individual who suffers through all sorts of interesting stuff. But yeah, it's an education thing. And to me, it's like, okay, I want people to become more aware.
Well, let me know when you want to brainstorm on the insider threat one.
Yeah, I'll play your game. I'll play your game too.
Awesome. We might actually, I'll tell you, Jason said he would help because I can do, these actually take a while to put together. And yeah, they just.
But yeah, you're writing tabletop scenarios and then trying to get it down to what, 1,400 characters?
13. Well, actually 1,215 characters, which then gives me 1,215, 1,220, which then gives me enough to put a couple of hashtags with the current things. Yeah, it's a little interesting, shall we say. But they seem fun. Everybody seems to enjoy them. Let's put it that way. And I think people are getting some use out of them. So what I'd love to do is keep them going like once or twice a week. Like that. Do you remember the Bastard Operator from Hell?
Oh, yeah.
I want to do something like that, but I want to do it in a more civilized manner, should we say? Something that actually helps educate rather than just relieves our frustration.
Right. Well, gentlemen, we're at the midnight hour here in the Minnesota.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Back up your shit.
Yeah.
Back it up. Move it off site.
And have your damn IT people sign a damn contract saying they're doing it right.
Right.
Yeah. And it doesn't cost much money. We're not talking a lot of money. I mean, I looked on IBM's site. I looked on Newegg for how much tape drives and tape units are, and for like 40 and 60 gig drives. And this shit's not expensive. It's just do it, for crying out loud, please.
Or pull your old ones out of mothball, because chances are the new attackers have no idea how to attack those things anyway.
Right. They don't even know they exist.
Right.
Yeah, what in hell's this SCSI shit?
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, just go into your IT storeroom and find that corner where you put that damn, tape drive and pull it.
Yeah, where you shut it off 10 years ago. Dust it off, turn it back on.
Yep. Yeah, just something. We got to do something. And again, to the points you both made, this is simple, basic stuff.
This one is as old as time, man. It's
well, and the frustrating part, I feel the frustration. You can see, I can hear it in your voice, Ryan. I can hear it in your voice, Chris. We're frustrated. We've been preaching the same damn thing over and over and over again. It's been 25, 30 years of the same shit, right? This isn't new. You need to back up your data. I was telling you that back in the early 90s, the 80s, when I first started in this industry. And predecessors before me were saying the same damn thing in the 60s and 70s.
Copy.
So what's missing? Why aren't people doing it more often? And I think the only way I know how to go about, I guess, getting over the frustration is holding you accountable for doing it. And if you're not doing it, then get out, get away. You're not helping me.
I think we don't do it. I think we know why we don't do it, because again, I don't want to blame the cloud, but the thing is the cloud came along, we had redundant systems, reliable architectures, integrated.
It got hot everywhere.
We didn't.
I'm good.
How much? Do you remember buying the NetApps? Was it NetApp? All the NASs and everything else?
I remember NetApp. Yep.
Remember NetApp?
Stupidly priced. Like serious money. and you plate span all over the darn place. And then somebody came along and said, hey, you don't have to worry about that. We've got a cloud for that stuff. It's all up there and it's all secured. And what they forgot to tell you was the sodding thing's still fucking connected. So it doesn't matter where it is, it's still vulnerable. Right. I think maybe we missed that part. We missed the part where there's no off switch to the data. We need an off switch to the data somewhere.
Yeah, convenience won out again.
Yeah, totally. So if Iron Mountain's telephone starts ringing off the hook, we'll take a commission off of that. All of us will.
Yeah,
and
seriously.
Yeah.
Give us a call, Iron Mountain. We want to resurrect your old school business.
Oh my gosh, holy shit.
Damn straight. Yeah, that's what we should say. This episode of the Security Shit Show brought to you in part by Iron Mountain.
Iron Mountain.
Iron Mountain.
For your data.
And LTE
from ransomware.
Who are the ones that did all the tapes? It's actually, there's the disk drive up here. I'm trying to think. Who are the big ones?
No. Shit.
Maxwell did all the tapes.
No. There's one place up in here in Colorado. I'm trying to think who the hell it was that did them. It was a huge company. It wasn't Quantum. It might have been Quantum.
Who's the company that says we don't make shit, we just make shit better?
BSI?
Magstore.
No. Maybe. I think it's BSI.
I don't remember. But they're not making shit better anymore because I don't see in their commercials. Well, I don't watch TV, so maybe that's it.
I don't remember. Not extra, but all right, I'll have to figure that one out. I really feel bad that I can't remember. I drive by them. One of the dealerships is
BASF.
No, those were proper tapes. That was the shit that when it went wrong.
Yeah, but that's the company that makes stuff better. So it's not BSI.
Oh, okay, that's cool.
BASF.
Yeah, we don't make shit. We just make shit better.
Right.
I remember an IBM commercial that said we don't do shit. We just, what the hell was it? We just tell you to do shit or something. I can't remember. I got to find that commercial. That was funny.
Yeah, it's a good line of business to be in. I don't do shit. I just tell you what to do. You know, in my world, that's called parenting.
Oh, yeah. Maybe we need more of that in our industry, more parenting.
I don't do it. I just tell you.
Yeah, we definitely
We've all pulled the do as I say, not do as I do.
We need more spankings.
I'm all for it. Sign me up.
Right. Hey, you know, one of the things, sorry, I keep thinking of new shit, but, you know, you've been reading a lot. I do a lot of research and reading of, you know, breaches as they come about, right? It's really easy to do. So there's tons of different news feeds you can aggregate.
Did we lose him?
I think he's frozen.
Oh, dear. He's wandered too far from his access. There he is.
There's been maybe a half dozen or a dozen or so that I've seen, you know, in the news feeds over the last month. And just again, to put that into context, there are how many school districts in the United States? It's a big deal, even one school district, but I don't think we're necessarily losing the battle per se. So there's still time for us to help. So let's get the word out and even if it's free work, shit, I'll go do free work for my school district. We tried to do that before with ransomware, you know, and
somebody the other day, they said that they're doing this. I said, if they can't afford to do it the right way, call me. I'll donate some consulting hours.
Yeah.
Right. Go to your city hall, right? And, you know, ask your mayor. I mean, they are supposed to work for us, and ask them what you're doing to protect our city, you know, our community from ransomware, you know, in a non-adversarial, in a helpful way. You know, don't be a dick about it, but, you know, maybe they need help and maybe they can't afford it. Maybe they don't know. You know, there's always that piece too.
All right, guys. I'm falling asleep at the keyboard. It's been
all right, go get some rest.
I love you both.
Yeah, thank you guys. Fantastic
love you guys.
Conversation.
Have a good night.
You guys take care, stay safe, and all that good stuff.
I'll talk to you all soon.
Definitely.
Bye.
All right, ta-da.